First, let's focus on three-point lighting. Remember, there are three lights used. The key light, which is your brightest and hits the subject at an angle. The fill light, which fills in the shadows made by the key light. And the backlight, which goes above and behind the subject to separate them from the background. The first step in setting up three-point lighting is to get your subject in the frame and positioned with your camera shot set up. Now, get your three lights and decide which will be your key, which will be your fill, and which will be your back. Begin to set up. Each light should be moved by holding the base firmly. Be sure not to trip over cords and never touch a hot light on the top or on the bulb. You can raise and lower these lights by releasing and locking the levers to expand the base. Let's start setting up our three-point lighting by plugging in the key light and positioning it to hit your subject at an angle, highlighting their face. Remember, you can make the light more or less harsh by moving the light closer or further away from your subject. Once the key light is where you want it, move on to the fill light. It should be bright enough to fill in most of the shadows created by the key light, but it should not be so bright that it competes with the key light. Finally, let's set up our backlight. This can be tricky because you have to angle it in a way where it hits the subject above and behind without being in your camera shot. Once you have all of your lights the way you want them, check your camera shot to make sure everything looks good. Then you can record. Once you have finished using the lights, you must turn them off, lower them to the level you found them in, and unplug them and neatly wrap the cord. Each cord should be secured on the light so that no cords are touching the floor. Finally, move all the lights against the wall so they aren't in the middle of the room. Make sure the studio is clean, and then you're finished. Next, let's talk about silhouette lighting. You'll use the same safety, setup, and cleanup procedures mentioned above. For silhouette lighting, you only need one light. Remember, in silhouette, we light the background instead of lighting the subject. So start by setting up your subject and background just the way you want it. Once you have done this, take your light and shine it on the background. Your goal here is to create a tight circle directly behind your subject's head, so adjust the light's height and position as needed. You want your subject to be completely dark with all of their features masked. Once you finish recording, it's time to clean up. Don't forget that all lights should be lowered to their original position, all cords should be neatly wrapped and off of the floor, and the lights should be placed against the wall.